The verse goes, "While walking by the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And he said to them, 'Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men.' Immediately they left their nets and followed him. And going on from there, he saw two other brothers, James the son of Zebedee and John his brother, in the boat with Zebedee their father, mending their nets. And he called them. Immediately they left the boat and their father and followed them." Okay, now this is going to be an interactive little talk, okay? So I need someone to tell me, what were James and John and Andrew and Simon doing? Anyone? Fishing, okay, and? Mending the net. Mending the nets, okay. So they were fishing and they were mending the nets. Okay, so from that, what do you think they were? Okay. And not quite yet. Spoiler. Anyways, so they're fishers. Describe to me, what do you think of when you think of the disciples when Jesus called them? How old do you think they were?
37.
37? That's specific? Okay. 20? Okay. And 26? 24? Okay, so we're ranging from 14 to 37. All right. 30? 32. Okay. So we've gathered from this passage that these guys are anywhere from 14 to 37, specifically, that they are fishers and they are mending nets. And also something that you guys didn't point out, they're with their dad. Okay, so I'm going to kind of break this passage down to you, and I'm going to explain to you why every single one of those facts that you just listed is super important and actually is very symbolic. Okay, so to do that, we have to look at the Jewish education system, which I know all of y'all just inwardly groan because you're like, it's the weekend. I don't want to talk about the education system until Monday. But it's cool. Okay, so in the Jewish culture, back then, y'all might not have known this, but they started school, all the Jewish boys did, at 4 to 5 years old. That's when they started their little kindergarten, elementary school, or whatever. Okay, so when they started out, they started by memorizing the Torah, which were their scriptures. They memorized them, and as they learned to write, they also wrote them. Okay, now, by the age of 10, many of them could memorize, they memorized and they could recite and all this stuff, but at the age of 10, the elimination process started. All right, that's when teachers started saying, hey, you're really not cut out to be in Bible school. You're not cut out to be a rabbi, which was their spiritual teacher. And so they're like, you need to go home and learn your family straight. So at 10, your destiny and future and career is already planned out for you, basically. So if you could not remember John 3:16, your life was screwed. All right, so that's when you went home and you learned the trade of your dad, who was doing the trade of his dad, who was doing the trade of his dad, and so on for generations. So do you guys maybe, are you starting to see why maybe James and John were fishermen?
Because their dad was. Oh, wow. Good job.
Okay, all right, so at the age of 10, if you were smart enough to stay in school, all right, that's when you started interpreting the scriptures, all right? You did this until you were 13, 14. Okay, again, elimination process. Your interpretation was way off. You're not smart enough, you're not religious enough, you're not serious enough, you're not bright enough. Sorry, at 14, you're out of school. So by freshman or sophomore year, basically, you're a high school dropout. If you didn't fit into that mold. And let me tell you, many of them did not fit into that mold. Okay? It was a very specific mold. All right? So, okay, who said that they thought that James and John and all of them were 37? Okay, that was you. According to scholars, that was way off. Scholars actually believe that James and John and all the disciples, for that matter, were anywhere from 16 to 18 years old. So a little older than 14, way younger than 37. Do I have any 16 to 18-year-olds in the house?
Hello.
Okay, so congratulations, you guys. If y'all were back in those days, you would be high school dropouts right now, probably. Okay, because only the brightest of the brightest of the brightest of the most follow the rules, goody two-shoes, continued, okay? So, and I hope that you wouldn't admit up to that because we will stone you later if you do. Okay, so anyways, so the fact that James and John and Andrew and Simon were fishing with their dad when Jesus met them, that says that they were no longer in school because their teachers said that they were not smart enough, they were not religious enough, they were not serious enough to be a rabbi, to be a spiritual figure in the Jewish culture, okay? Now, I can just imagine James and John, they were brothers, right? And I'm assuming they're probably close in age, so I can just imagine them when back in like grade school, they were having to memorize the Song of Solomon. I can just imagine them sitting next to each other and being like, yeah, well, your teeth are like a flock of sheep. Yeah, well, your neck's like the Tower of Babylon. Like, I mean, and the rabbi's just standing there and he's like, no. And I'm not even going to get into the more descriptive verses in Song of Solomon. But, I just imagine that, they weren't cut out for what their culture said that you had to be in the church. So here they are, high school dropouts, working a dead-end job. Let's be honest, they're fishing, okay? No offense to any fishers out there. But as a profession, back in those days, you weren't going to go that far with it, okay? So they're working this dead-end job with their dad every single day for the rest of their lives. In the world's eyes, they were not exactly the most likely candidates to follow the greatest man on earth, right? Well, Jesus comes along and he sees them. And when he sees them, he doesn't see that they're 16, 17, 18-year-old high school dropouts. He doesn't see that they weren't smart enough to cut it in Bible school, that they weren't serious enough or religious enough, or that they broke the rules probably. What he saw men who were rejected by the world, but that he could use to help him turn the world upside down. And I love that because I really, really relate to those disciples. I really relate to those disciples. I don't feel like I'm equipped to do half the things that the Lord has called me to do. And I'm sure that there's many of you sitting out there that either you think that about yourself or probably other people think that about yourself. And that's okay. That's okay. Because we're going to see this weekend that even if you don't feel like you are that way, or maybe you truly aren't that way, that the Lord still has a plan and he's still going to call you. And when he does call you, if you choose to accept and say yes, your story will be changed forever. So I just want to read that verse to you guys one more time, now that you guys have been enlightened to all that it means. All right? And then I'm going to close out. So, while walking by the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew, his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And he said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." Immediately they left their nets and followed him. And going on from there, he saw two other brothers, James the son of Zebedee and John his brother, in the boat with Zebedee their father, mending their nets, and he called them. Immediately they left the boat and their father and followed him. I'm going to pray real quick, and then I'm going to hand it over to Ann, okay? So everyone, bow your head and close your eyes, please. Lord, I thank you so much that when you look at us, you don't see our qualifications or lack of those qualifications. I thank you that you see the people that you created us to be, and I thank you that no matter how many mistakes we make or how many areas we're lacking in or whatever, God, that you still have a plan for us and that you still want to call us and that you still want us to say yes. Lord, I pray that when you call us, and if you already have called us, that when you call us, we will say yes, and that we will walk with you, and that we will allow our stories to be changed by the plans that you have for us. In Jesus' name, amen.